Well, it's a methodology for embedding literacy and language learning in teaching the curriculum across subject areas and at all year levels. So it's come out of working with a lot of schools and teachers over the years in different sectors, different year levels, different subject areas, thinking through how we can embed strategies for teaching reading and writing in teachers' classroom practice. Well, our starting point was with Indigenous kids in South Australia, children who were either in Aboriginal communities or in urban schools, whose literacy outcomes, as we know, are really weak. So we worked with teachers in an action research project called Scaffolding in Reading and Writing for Indigenous Children at School. The improvements that the teachers attained in that project were roughly 4 times expected learning rates, which to our knowledge was not achieved by any other program with Indigenous kids. That attracted national attention, and we were asked to work in a variety of contexts in the mainstream, in primary schools and secondary schools. And we then had to work with the various contexts that different teachers work with, the different range of problems, and found that the problems that Indigenous children have are not different in kind from the problems that many students have in our school system. So the last 10 years has been a process of development, refinement and expansion so that we meet the needs of as many teachers as we can. A traditional approach is to treat language and literacy as somehow separate from learning the content of the curriculum, and that's not as effective as a program that integrates that with learning the content of the curriculum. It gives teachers the tools to be able to teach literacy at the same time as they teach the content of the curriculum, so they're not two separate subjects. And the other probably main issue is teaching literacy from the top down. Well, the staging comes out of how we understand learning and how we understand language. So we interpret language in terms of meaning, so our starting point is with meaning. That means we start with the area of knowledge we need the students to understand, and the text that we're working with, so we start with a whole text. Once the students have a level of comprehension of a whole text, we can come down and work with language at the level of sentences, and then once they have comprehension at the level of sentences, we can come down to individual words. So our understanding of how language works, from texts to sentences to words, informs our understanding of our sequence. Well, over the last 10 years, we have a series of independent evaluations that show the top students in classes are accelerating at 1.5 times average growth rates, at the same time as the bottom kids are accelerating at around 4 times average growth rates. And the reason for this is simply that what top students normally do intuitively in terms of learning the language resources, we now do consciously. So conscious learning is far more effective than intuitive learning. The professional learning involves a lot of new knowledge about pedagogy and language, and that takes a while for teachers to take on board and assimilate and use. So we stagger the training program with a series of short workshops over the course of a year, so that by the end of the year they are reasonably confident and competent to be independent practitioners. Within the school situation, it requires principals to give teachers time for planning. A carefully planned lesson is a good lesson, and because it's new knowledge and skills, it's much better to be able to plan at times with others. So a combination of support for planning time, encouragement that it's just as important to give students skills as it is to cover the curriculum content, and the opportunity to work together. Well, the main obviously the most immediate one is that you're going to get you're going to be closing the gap between the tail and the rest of the school, which means that your overall results are going to improve. Your top students are not disadvantaged, but your weaker students are immensely advantaged by taking this on board. And once children are successful in the classroom, it changes the dynamic of the classroom, it changes the dynamic of the school to one where children are supportive of each other, respectful of each other. Teaching becomes more of a pleasure because you're able to teach all your students at the level that you would like to be able to. It enables you to cover the curriculum content much more effectively because students are becoming independent learners. A key issue that was constantly being raised is the improvement in behaviour management. Because children are now successful, we use success as the way to engage students and thereby to manage the classroom and the school. It's reading and writing, and it's learning school knowledge at the same time. Yeah.